Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. My name is Michael Costanza. I'm the Director of Admissions for the School of Architecture and Built Environment. We have a great presentation here today about the Landscape Architecture and Engineering program. We're going to hear from a lot of faculty. We'll see some students in the field. Um, we're going to start with a program overview, and then we'll see some students in the field, and then we'll go to our faculty and hear from them about their classes and research, and then you'll have time at the end for a question and answer session. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up the program directors, Ehab and Margarita.
Thank you, Michael. This is great. So if you can see, we have prepared this presentation on Landscape Architecture and Engineering program. It's a dual Master's of Landscape Architecture and a Master of Sciences in River Coastal Sciences and Engineering. So that, let's see, I am Margarita Jouvet, co-director along with Ehab Meselhe of this dual joint program that is designed across the School of Architecture and the Built Environment and the School of Sciences and Engineering, specifically with two departments within the School of Sciences and Engineering, Ecology and Evolutionary Biology, and Keith is going to talk a little bit about that, as well as Ehab Meselhe, Director of the River Coastal Sciences and Engineering. So this program is led by many faculty with different specialties, but essentially we have designers, we have scientists and engineers with different fields of research. So I have like studio faculty and faculty specialists across these different programs. Here we will have the opportunity to ask questions to all the faculty who are joining the webinar. Essentially, it's a dual degree. The educational mission is to provide this interdisciplinary program of study in landscape architecture, which means design, community, and urbanism, as well as engineering, hydrology, soils, nature-based infrastructures, and sciences, ecology, wetlands, and natural systems. And so out of the door, after these 3 years and a half, you get two degrees, an MLA and an MSc. So the program of study is 3 years and a half. We'll see a little bit of detail quite shortly. It's 3 years and a half, 6 semesters with an intro in summer, intro to design. But if you come from a design field or you come from a scientific background, we evaluate individually your case, and you can have been placed in advanced standing depending on your coursework. We also have great options for financial support, that especially in these first years of the program that is has started last year. So this is a little bit of overview of the program. We start with an intro to design in the summer. Then that is essentially drawing and design studio with intro to water civilization in history. Then we move into the green year, we call it, which is based on green systems, green infrastructures, urban ecology, plant biology, field botany, and 2 studios, forest urbanism and streetscapes. We move into the blue year, where we have a deep dive into more of the hydraulics and hydrology linked to the larger green infrastructure or the built environment at large. So this blue year has this content that you see here. Within the blue year, you get to choose electives that are more math physics or low math physics within this sequence of water resources engineering 1, 2, and 3, and or other content that is less math heavy. But in any case, whatever you choose, we have the pedagogy to support your success because we count on students that enter from any background. You can come from history, from anthropology, or from any background to have these 3 years and a half and get this MLA, MSc at the end. So after the green year and the blue year, we have the research year, where students start to have their own interest and tailor with specific faculty, tailor their research theme. And in the first semester, they frame the questions that they will get developed in their thesis in the second semester of the 3rd year. And in general, the master's has heavily based on studio experience, which is this space of design iteration. There's a lot of engaged design we have a large network of communities and real world case studies that we get students engaged to. Intense site analysis. I'm leaving here to EHAB to follow on the aspects of the research that is based on field.
Well, hello, everybody. So we have a variety of experiences that we share with the students as part of this program and as part of our research activities in general. So quite a few of us work in the region here in coastal Louisiana, studying hydrology, sediment transport, morphology, vegetation. The image that you're looking at here, this is one of our faculty. Blaine is operating a drone that actually does LiDAR surveys. So we do these LiDAR surveys to support our research, to look at vegetation cover, to look at elevations. We collect elevation information. Tomorrow, in fact, we are going to a site in Barataria Bay, which is a nearby here. It's an estuary adjacent to the Mississippi River. So we can get the students familiar with that site as an example of a coastal wetland area that will support their current design activity in that area, to look at restoration strategies and protection strategies in that particular basin. What's the next slide? Modeling. This is something else that our faculty also are involved in. We develop and apply computer models for the hydrology, sediment, morphology, interaction between different processes, how vegetation dies and grows in response to hydrologic stressors. We do have this water table that you're looking at here. So we do lab experiments. So this is here a fluid water table that we share with our students to look at how delta forms and how beach forms from waves and tides, as well as riverine inflows. Next. This is the maker space here. So this is a space here on campus that students use to work with. There is a print lab wood, a 3D printers. So it's a really hands-on that is used quite heavily by all of our, especially engineering departments here at Tulane.
Yeah, and then the field study from Keith.
Yeah, hello, everybody. I'm Keith Clay. I'm the chairman of the Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology. And we're the one department at Tulane that focuses on all of the other organisms besides animals, although there's a strong focus on animals, plants, fungi, bacteria. We're interested in ecology, the natural world, the environments in nature that are interfacing with developed landscapes as well as more urban areas. So we have a number of faculty that teach courses relevant to this program, including a course that I've taught on basic plant biology, learning about the diversity in fundamental processes, physiology, genetics, reproduction of plants. Urban ecology is taught by Cass Taylor in EEB. And then field botany is a very plant-focused course taught by Professor Emily Farr that has a strong field component where people take field trips to natural areas that exhibit the great diversity of plant life that can be found there. So we are representing the green side by and large, and look forward to meeting and working with the program in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. So the program has a wide range of career opportunities from private practice to institutional to academic and nonprofit. It has a STEM designation as many landscape architecture programs. And so here, I don't know if Michael, you want to trim in, but here are the conditions for admissions and application deadlines.
Yes, yeah. And so the program is pretty simple with the admissions requirements, online application, statement of interest asking, who are you? What's your goal? Why do you want to attend this program? And why do you want to do it at Tulane? That's really just a way for us to understand who you are when determining admission. Transcripts, 3 letters of recommendation, um, and a resume, just understanding your skills. The portfolio component is really for students who have a design background, really wanting to see, if you come from a design background, what are you doing? What have you done showing us your creative potential and your design thinking, design process? And so that's pretty much the application. And in terms of application, we're really looking for what are your strengths? What is your interest in the program? And why do you want to come to Tulane to do it? For applications, January 15th is our application deadline. If you apply by that deadline, we will have a decision for you by mid-February. After that, we're rolling admissions, and so we will read applications and send decisions back within 2 weeks. But really try and get that January 15th deadline so that we can get you a timely response. And then April 15th is our is the graduate deadline overall. So that is really your opportunity to say, yes, I'm coming to the program. Next slide here. And so if finances is a barrier for you, we encourage you to please apply because we have a lot of options for helping you in that area. So our biggest tool that we have is the Merit Scholarship, and that can range from anywhere from 20% to 80% of tuition. We really can help students out in that aspect. The School of Architecture gives the Boudreaux Scholarship, which is really for students who are, your goal is to increase diversity in the industry, whether that is a project, increasing opportunities for students, for other people. And so that those 2 opportunities right there, just by submitting the application, you're automatically reviewed for those scholarships. And then we have other things like assistantships, teaching assistantships, research assistantships, federal aid through the FAFSA, and payment plan options. So if finances is your barrier, we encourage you to apply and come talk to us. Yeah, and
Yeah.
so
Go ahead.
I think I'll kick it over to Wes, who is one of our faculty members who's in the field right now with some students.
Perfect.
So Wes, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you.
And Margaret, you
Hello,
want to stop sharing?
everyone. Let's see. Hey, hi, I'm Wes Michaels. I'm an associate professor of landscape architecture in the program. We are joining you from our field trip. We're looking at the Mississippi River right now. We're actually studying the Davis Pond Diversion Channel here, which is a big piece of infrastructure that affects the Barataria Basin, which Ehab talked about earlier. And this is our first stop on our 2-day field trip, and we'll be going tomorrow in the boat on Barataria Basin to study the marsh and salt marsh and freshwater marsh ecosystems and look at some more coastal infrastructure and settlements in that area. So we are out in the field for a couple of days doing some on-site reconnaissance. And you guys want to say hello?
Yeah, sure. My name is Gabe Musselman. I'm one of the students here. I had a background as an engineer before this. So I was doing civil engineering, and I wanted to move into design a little bit. And when I heard about this program, it was really an amazing opportunity, I think, to just keep what I had learned and add to it. And since I've been here, it's just been a really interesting time with a lot of really unique opportunities to learn things that I never thought I'd be learning. And I'm really excited to be doing some field work. So nice to meet you all.
Hi, I'm Emma. My background is in urban planning and a little bit of landscape architecture. And I came to this program from the West Coast, from the Bay Area, to do the landscape part, but also get all of the extra bonuses of the River Coastal. And it's been really great so far.
Hey, and I'm Brian White. My professional experience is in insurance defense paralegal work, and I'm coming at this program in my early 40s. My personal interests are involved in naturalism, gardening, and native plants. So I'm a member of several organizations with that, and just love the use of natural plant and biodiverse systems. Landscaping. So I'm excited to be already.
Yeah. So this is where we are for the next couple of days. And, we took some field trips this summer to look at cultural sites all along up and down the Mississippi. We'll continue to get out in the field and, learn from the environment itself and be out here and understand the scale, understand the natural systems, understand the ecology. And, Barb and Mead are joining us tomorrow on the boat trip. So we get really their great knowledge about Barataria Basin, the area that they've worked in for decades at this point. And so we're going to get a chance to learn from them tomorrow on our boat trip, which is an all-day excursion into the Barataria Basin. So that's where we're at today. Michael, I will pass it back over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Wes. That was great. Thanks to the students for joining us for that. It's really cool to see actual field work happening where the science meets the design, and the students are out there next to water, next to the river. What we're going to do now is transition to hear from our SSE faculty to hear about the different classes and research opportunities that they provide. I don't know if there's a set order to this, so I can pick someone, or someone can show their video and talk. No one's taking it, so why don't we go to Wayne? Wayne, why don't you tell us about your involvement, and then you can popcorn to someone else.
Whoa. Hold on, I'm trying to. Oh, there you go. Hello, everybody. So I'm Wayne Wagner. I am what we call professor of practice here at Tulane. I teach the water resources engineering classes. So in order, the three of those there's one on fluid mechanics, there's one on hydraulics, which would be applied fluid mechanics essentially to water. Well, water and that has a component that's kind of in closed conduits, and then another part that's in what we would call an open channel. So you would think about rivers and things along those lines. And then I also teach hydrology. And that's I don't know how much time you want me to talk, but that's my role. And just a little jargon note here. Tulane, a professor of practice, is a professor who teaches and does not do research. So my role really is to just help you learn the material.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Wayne. Barb, would you like to go next?
Hey, good afternoon. Glad to have you all join us. I'm Barb Kleiss. I'm a research professor in the Department of River Coastal Science and Engineering. A couple of things that I'm very involved with the program is that I'm the lead for the Introduction to River Science and Engineering, which is a required course during the Blue Year, the second year. But then as far as elective courses, I also lead river restoration and a course in sampling rivers and using statistical analyses of USGS sites. My background is in wetland biogeochemistry. I've done a lot of work with the wetland ecology. And so I am going out with the group tomorrow. Prior to my time at Tulane, prior to the last 8 years, I spent almost 40 years in government in this part of the country. And so I think a contribution that I make is an overview and understanding of pretty much the entire Mississippi River Basin.
Awesome. Thank you. Mead, why don't you go next?
Hi, all. Welcome. I'm Mead Allison. I'm a professor in river coastal science and engineering. My background is as a coastal geoscientist, coastal oceanographer. That's how my training was now long ago. I have, over the years, done a lot of research in the world's deltas. My interest is really in the flow of water and sediment through coastal systems, and I've worked in everything from wetlands to estuaries to the continental shelf, but mainly focused around large rivers. You'll see me on the instructional side in the blue year, as Barb is the lead of the Intro to River classes. I'm the lead of the Intro to Coastal class, although both of us participate in the other classes. One of the unique things about our CSE classes is that we're so interdisciplinary. We teach a lot of multi-instructor classes where we'll join in for a few weeks. And we're also involved in the design studios like the one Wes is teaching this semester, which has the students in the field. So you'll see us in a number of different classes and bits and pieces. In terms of electives, like Barb said, I teach a class called Coastal Marine Geology that you might, for instance, take. So you have a chance to interact with folks like me probably throughout the program. And I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Sonke?
I'm sorry, I'm having problems with my video. Sorry. Hi, my name is Sönke Dangdorf. I'm an associate professor in river coastal science and engineering. By training, I'm a civil engineer, but I work on sea level changes in the ocean. So in our team, we try to determine if at a certain position along the coastline, sea levels have been rising, falling, or stayed constant over time. We try to understand the causes of that and try to project that into the future to support coastal planning and adaptation purposes. We also work a lot on flood risk and all the things that are connected to sea level changes in climate. In terms of teaching, I teach a variety of classes that have to do with sea level changes. I have a pure sea level change class, but I also have modules that deal with coastal sea levels and components of it. For instance, in the Intro to Coastal class. I also teach data analysis classes that might be of interest for some people who are more interested in this kind of stuff. Yeah, and I hope to see some of you in the next round. Nice to meet you all.
Awesome, thank you. And last, Matthew.
There it goes. Hi, everyone. I am Matt Sapika. I am an assistant professor in the same department. And primarily I work somewhere between rivers and river deltas. I'm also an engineer from training, but a lot of research relates more to geoscience, somewhere between geoscience and engineering. So a lot of my work is focused on understanding how these systems evolve over time, which could be a quote engineering timescale, which is sort of a 5-10 year window, or a much longer timescale related to geology. And that kind of leads towards some type of nature-based solution that can be how can we interact with nature to develop ways to coexist with it. And I teach a few classes related to water flows of hydraulics and sediment transport and river evolution, things like that.
Thank you, thank you. Well, that's hearing from us, and now we want to hear from you. And so we have a question and answer function in the webinar. So if you have a question for anyone here, feel free to put it in that. Ask us your questions, and then I'll ask all of our panelists, everyone here, to show their video, to show themselves. And so as questions come up, we can all answer it that way. So while we wait for questions to come from the participants, I have a question. Wes, do you have the students next to you? Oh, look, a gator. Wes, do you have the students by you?
Yes,
Can't
I
hear
do.
you.
We went to the other side to see the gators. You can see it's a pretty big gator in there.
Oh, I'm right here.
Oh, and there's another big one right there, if you can see him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. So
Wes,
we are
question
here.
for
I'm gonna
the
turn this back around. There's Gabe.
I have a question while we're waiting for questions from our participants of the webinar, a question for our students who have no engineering background, and curious if you can ask them how intimidating was it to join a program with engineering, and how has been your experience?
My experience has been really great so far. I was definitely intimidating, but I think all of the faculty, there's so much support from everyone. And I know that our how we started off this summer is a little bit different to how the next folks will be starting off this summer, but they throw you in, but they throw that life vest too. And it was a learning curve, but I think like now in our second semester, it's like I feel just as I don't know, with it as everyone else in our classes we're taking classes with other river coastal folks and other people just coming into Tulane for a few classes. So I feel like the learning curve was steep, but now that we're kind of beyond that really steep part, it feels very manageable.
Great.
And the other thing, Michael, to remember is that, I mean, this year, we're starting off with the green year. So it's going to be a very landscape focused first year with streetscapes and some more traditional sort of landscape architecture work in that first semester as you're sort of coming into it. And then looking at regenerative urban systems like urban forestry, parks, how to think about urban green open space systems in that first year. And the blue year is sort of the second year. So, there's a little bit of a lead in to learn a lot of the skills around drawing and the other things like that in that first year. So you've got those under your belt. And then the second year, looking a little bit more at the engineering aspects of it. But I guess I also want to emphasize that there's a very big design component in this program. There's a lot of the engineering, and it has, this very integrated role in the work that we're doing. But there is still, I'm a landscape architect, I'm a practicing landscape architect. And, we really do believe in the idea of design as a very powerful tool in the built environment, and that we talk a lot about design at all different scales, at the sort of the scale of the basin, but we will also talk about design at the scale of the park and the street and the small sort of human scale as well. So this is the traditional sort of landscape architecture design curriculum is very much interwoven into this. And so it's a very unique way to sort of bring design and science and engineering into one program.
Awesome. Thank you, Wes. I have a question here that I'll answer live. How available are assistantships for incoming students? We do have a number of teaching assistantships and some research assistantships. For incoming students, there are some opportunities, and it just depends on matching your skills with the opportunities that we have. And then I have another question here, and don't know who wants to take it, is for someone who is planning to apply, is there any kind of classes that they should take at their undergraduate level that you would recommend to prepare them for the program?
I mean,
Anyone
I'm happy to chime in on that. I mean, I think it depends on maybe where you feel like your strengths and weaknesses are. Drawing and sort of computer-aided drawing, things like Photoshop and Illustrator and AutoCAD are all courses that we will teach you. And if you don't have any experience in those, that's totally fine. We work on that from the beginning. But if that's something that you're interested in and you don't have any experience with it, brushing up on your computer skills and, doing an online Photoshop course or an Illustrator course, or even just, going through some tutorials would be great, whether or not there's an official class offered at your institution, or if you just do it sort of on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the other side, if that's already something that you have a lot of skills with, I think anything that has to do with environmental systems would be a really great course to take that will dive into both the engineering and the science aspect of the curriculum, because they, are very closely related. So the engineering and the science are very well integrated in the School of Science and Engineering. And I think in a lot of ways, that's what's incredibly unique about that school at Tulane, is that the science and the engineering are in the same school. That's not typical in a lot of places, and it's a real asset. So I really think think about the things that you have skills in, and if it's drawing, maybe look at the environmental work. If it's environmental work already, maybe look at some drawing skills.
And from our science side, I think the student was really looking for like maybe any science classes they should take, like biology or statistics. Do we recommend anything like that? Anyone from SSE?
Well, I'll just jump in. If you're thinking about doing the more engineering component of it, you don't have to do the engineering one, but if that's your goal, is to be qualified in landscape architecture and then be able to work with and tightly communicate with engineering, as much math as you can. Definitely calculus 1 and 2 is useful, some background in physics, but that is a optional course, a direction that you can go. Those classes are important. General chemistry, we'll do a little bit of chemistry, but we can also catch you up on chemistry all the way through it. But basically, any of the science courses that, the more familiarity you have with science and courses, it will be easier for you as you go forward. That doesn't preclude your participation, but it does make it easier.
Can I add
Those
something,
two-
Michael?
Oh, go ahead.
And this is teeing off what Barb said, and also an earlier comment from Emily in the field, that from the RCSE side and our degree, there is no segregation of you folks as students. You're in with all of our students who are not in the joint program. But that should be actually comforting in the sense, if you don't have a very engineering specific background, in the sense that we've got students from all sorts of backgrounds: computer science, environmental sciences, climate sciences, as well as people with engineering backgrounds. So it's not like you would be the only, if you came in without an engineering background, you would be the only non-engineer. And so I think that's important to recognize, that we are an interdisciplinary, very diverse department. And so we try and answer a very diverse student need. But as Barb says, STEM related background is an advantage, even though we teach these intro classes where we try and get everybody up to at least a basic level of understanding of some of the major fields. Thanks.
Thank you. And
Michael, there was one question that I can discuss.
yes.
So somebody was asking, would that make us qualify or not qualify as an engineer? It will depend a lot on your background and your undergraduate. In order for you to be able to take and pass the professional engineering exam, there are certain courses that you have to have in your background so that you can actually pass that exam. So I'm happy to look at anybody's undergraduate transcripts and give you a definitive answer. But there is a road that a student need to take to be able to take those classes and pass the fundamental of engineering exam, have years of experience, and then ultimately take the PE, which is the professional engineering exam.
Awesome. Thank you, for explaining that. We have a student here asking a question about opportunities for research or independent study. Does Tulane have grants to apply to conduct independent research while getting help from faculty, or is there any way that faculty and students combine to do research?
Well, Michael, I'll answer that a little bit from one side of it. The third year is envisioned as the research year. And so that year will be a time to explore independent type projects, work with professors on things that you're interested in and do that type of research. And in the meantime, in the first few years, a lot of the students have research assistantships that allow them to work with the professors and on their interests and sort of work together with them on different types of projects and collaborate and understand how they're working, understand how the professors work, and really get that type of experience.
It's
Margarita?
also possible
Okay.
from the science and engineering side, we teach independent study classes, right, that are up to 3 to 4 credits. And the idea is that in your electives, you could select an independent study to work with a professor to follow up on a research topic from the science and engineering side that you might be interested in doing. So that might require funds come from that faculty members research group. There are a number of small grant programs through the Bywater Institute, through the School of Science and Engineering, et cetera, that students can get independent funds as well. So there are a number of vehicles for that sort of thing.
I'll also add, I currently am holding a graduate research fellow position with a professor named Ruben Garcia, working with him on an exhibition of a studio that he taught last school year. But there's a keynote speaker coming and an exhibition being held in Chile. And so I'm supporting him in a lot of different ways, but that's something that I was able to just hop right into in this first fall semester.
Awesome, great. Anyone else?
Yeah, maybe following on that, there's a Center for Climate Change and Urbanism that you can be teaching fellow of. That is also an interesting asset. But I want to leave a space for Keith, who is unmuted.
Yeah, maybe it's less relevant for graduate students, but Newcomb Tulane College, which I believe all undergrads enroll in Newcomb Tulane College to start with, has a lot of money, a lot of small grant programs. Many students in my department obtain these, so they would be graduate students, I guess. Many people work in Latin America, Central Latin America, and there's the Stone Center on campus, which provides funds for international travel and international research. There are, as Mead emphasized, there are many smaller pots of money available through a great diversity of sources. So if somebody's motivated and interested, money in the terms of a few $1,000s can be had relatively easily.
Yes, thank you all. And so Tulane's designated as an R1 research university, which means that there are plenty of opportunities for you to do research with faculty, independent research. As we just heard, there's grants, there's funding, there's all kinds of things from the schools, the university level, and outside organizations. So if you have a desire or passion for research, this is a great program for you. I'll transition to another question, which is, how large is the program? Margarita, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the typical size of, of a master's. So typically it's a ratio of 1 faculty to 12 students in each cohort. So we are a relatively small program with a cohort of 12 to 15 students per class.
Great.
Can I add to that also that
Yes.
during the semester, because you will be taking classes with other groups, so that in other graduate students in River Coastal, whether they are master's or PhD students, we have typically around 20, give or take, graduate students in our department. So you will take classes with the rest of the River Coastal students who are pursuing master degrees or PhD degrees. So just keep that in mind.
And just to augment that, some of the classes are taught online at their hybrid classes. And so online, some of our classes also include maybe as many as 50-60% of the class is Corps of Engineers or government students. And so that also offers a different perspective and exposure to the students to see what working professionals are also doing in the field.
Yes, yes. Well, it looks like our questions have slowed down. If you have any last minute questions, please feel free to ask. Let's see. This question is for the engineering faculty. So for the faculty in engineering, what do you see often being a problem or struggle that people with design background might have at first? So for the engineers, what problems do you see the design people having issues when they start the course? I think that is what it's asking. And then what is the strengths of those students? Did that make sense, or should I answer it again?
Well, I can chime in a little bit, being from a design background myself, and having worked with engineers my whole career and understanding sort of where they're coming from. I think that your design skills and your design thinking as you're coming into the course are incredibly valuable, and they help you think about these problems in a different way. Now, there's a lot of learning in the sense of learning the systems and the way things work and how they operate from a science and engineering background and from that standpoint. But I think your design skills, if you're coming into the program with those, are incredibly valuable. They help you think through the way things are put together, the way systems work together. And that's been what we've seen happen with some of the students that with a landscape architecture light background coming into this have been able to experience. I don't know if
Wayne, maybe since
Wayne, you want to
come from the summer?
Yeah. So yeah, and I think I mean really the person Emma was pushing on this a little bit. I think okay, so this is such an interesting question. Well, because the cohort is relatively small, so to sort of try to make generalizations is pretty tough. But certainly my landscape students, my students who came into this with a design background, were different than what might be my typical engineering students. Pros and cons. And mostly, I think actually, what Emma was saying is mostly what I see is that at this point, my quote unquote students with design backgrounds, so let's call them my design students or whatever, are every bit as strong as those coming from an engineering background, but they're also more well-rounded. They're just the visualization, the ideas, the way that they're thinking. It's different than what I'm used to, and it's strong. And I mean, I think so I see Wes is now showing Gabe. Gabe, of course, came into it with an engineering background, but I think that, and maybe Gabe will have perspective on what he's seen from his cohort. I'll let Gabe speak, but mostly what I'm seeing is at this point, my design students in my engineering class are as easily as strong as my people with like straight engineering background, but they also have kind of a little edge. So anyway, I'll let Gabe go ahead and talk.
Thanks, Wayne. I think you're absolutely right. And full disclosure, I am the TA for Wayne's course. And so I get to see the way that the students are struggling with new concepts. I would say the struggle is not different, and that you're going to have students from engineering backgrounds encountering new topics that are having some of the same challenges in terms of like how to actually like grapple with this concept. I think the key thing that the design students are bringing into the engineering courses and to the table in general is their creativity. And like you have to remember that not only is our scientific experiments kind of like dreamed up and designed in the same way that some of the projects that we are trying to accomplish in architecture and engineering are kind of like dreamed up and thought of, but they're also like communicated. And I think I am learning a lot from my cohort about just like the best ways in which to communicate ideas, to conceptualize things in a graphical way that is not just like different from the way that engineers typically think about things, but is really like adding to it. So I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Wayne and Gabe. This last question here, we can end on this is, what careers do you see graduates of this degree going into? And they say particularly with the current federal government and state budget cuts for environmental work.
Well, certainly from the landscape architecture side, there's lots of private practice that is that will be open for graduates of the program. So that's always a big area that both in the engineering side and the landscape architecture side. And so landscape architecture studios, and even engineering firms are hiring a lot of landscape architects within their engineering firms. So we have all of the sort of the private sort of consulting and private practice side of it. The other place I think is interesting are sort of institutional and nonprofit areas. So things like the Water Institute of the Gulf, which is a large sort of nonprofit quasi-governmental group that does research and work on the coast. And there's lots of these types of organizations up and down, you know, all of our coasts, and even in our interior waterways, you know, on the upper Mississippi and then along the West Coast as well. So there are many, many organizations in the nonprofit sector that are institutional. Some are associated with universities, some are, you know, standalone, that offer a lot of opportunity and would be the skills that you would have coming out of here would put you in a very good position for a job with one of those types of institutions. And then, you know, the federal government is, you know, in a transition period, but at the same time, at the end of the day, there's a lot of infrastructure work that will remain necessary at whether it's the federal government level, the state or regional level, or even the local, you know, parish or county level. There will be work that needs to be done to think about how our infrastructure is maintained, how it adapts to climate change, how we adapt to sea level rise. You know, these are things that are not going away, and they have to be dealt with at a governmental level at some point, because they're problems that can't be dealt with by private industry or even institutional systems. So the government work and administrative work will I feel like always be there in just, is it at the federal level? Is it the state level? Is it the regional or county level? That remains to be seen. Barb, you might have some insight on this.
Feel like that you are correct that the work is not going to go away, but it may be delayed. And maybe preparing for it during the next 3 years, that's a good time to be out of the job market. But you're right that the work will not go away. It'll just be looking for a place to get funding.
Any other thoughts on careers that our graduates can and will go on to?
I guess just one interesting point is that this is another case where we actually have a landscape architect from the Engineering with Nature program from the Corps in the program. So you would have a chance to interface with a fellow student that is currently doing this kind of work. So it's just another opportunity for you.
Yes, and I'll say too, this is a unique program. Never before had another university, and so there is going to be unique professional opportunities for our graduates that we probably don't see currently in the industry. And so this is an opportunity to combine two disciplines that formerly haven't been combined. And so we're really excited about the prospect our graduates have when they get into the job market. And with that question, I want to say thank you to all of our participants today, all the panelists in the webinar, and thank you for coming and joining us today. If you have interest in this program, you have more questions for us, I'll be sending you an email after this event with more information on admissions and contact information. And if you want to get in touch with any of our panelists today, please send me an email. I'd be happy to connect you with faculty or our current students. But I want to thank you all for coming today and have a great rest of the day. Thank you all.